Okay, welcome back to more comedy, more comedy. Comment in the comment section, like this video, and subscribe to this channel. So this comedy is about, I'm not sure if you know this, but I'm in a doctoral program, earn a PhD, and become a professor. Wonderful. But people ask me, why did you want to be a professor? And there's many reasons, and by the way, I'm probably not going to go into academics as a professor for a variety of mitigating factors, but why did I want to do this in the first place? There's a lot of reasons for this. The first reason, 3 words: boy meets world. When I was a kid, I loved watching Boy Meets World, and everybody always turned to wise old Mr. Feeney to give them some sort of answers to whatever dilemmas that they were having. Now, he was a middle school principal, then he was a middle school teacher, then he was a middle school principal, and then towards the latter part of the series, he was a professor. But everyone always turned to Mr. Feeney, no matter what, to get their sort of information or see how he could help them resolve their issues. And as a young boy, I loved watching Boy Meets World, and I looked up to Mr. Feeney. And this, if you know me, you know I have a love of horror movies. And one of my favorite horror movies is called Halloween. And I always remember that there was the professor who was always out to capture Michael Myers. And I looked his name up right before this, and it escapes me. Donald Sutherland. Donald Pleasance was his name in real life. I forgot his name in the movie, so I'm not going to retape this. So let's just say Donald Pleasance. Dr. Loomis. Dr. Loomis was his name. Dr. Loomis. So every single time he'd wear usually a tan trench coat, and he'd come out of the darkness, and he'd have a cigar, and every time there was some sort of exposition, Dr. Loomis, the professor, would come out and he'd puff on his cigar and he'd say, "Michael Myers, I know about Myers." And then he'd proceed to give like 20 minutes of exposition in every single movie if you didn't see any of them before. And I always loved how he came out of the shadows and there was like smoke as he was coming out, like some sort of an all-knowing professor. And as an offshoot of this, even though this guy wasn't a professor, it's kind of the same, and he kind of came across like someone with all the answers. I used to love watching Unsolved Mysteries, and it was very similar. Before every mystery, this guy came out from the shadows, and he was wearing the same trench coat, and there was smoke, and he would give, before the mystery started, and I'd watch with my mother, and he'd say, "I'm gonna tell you about the mystery." And he seemed to be like some sort of all-knowing person every single time. So I really looked at guys like Loomis from Halloween, and Mr. Feeney, and that guy from Unsolved Mysteries. And I wanted to be like that, like a professor who has all the answers. Like every time you need help, to say, well, what does the professor have to say? And they turn to the professor, and he would just like monologue for like 10 or 15 minutes and give some long exposition about how to come to a conclusion for the problem. And that's the only reason I'm spending 4 years of my life in this PhD program, because I want to be like those professors. And I really hope one day I could go out and I could buy a trench coat and I could smoke a cigar and hopefully come out of the shadows with smoke, and they could say, well, what's the professor have to say? And I could give some sort of intellectual resolution to whatever problem that they're having, and they could always turn to me for advice. That's the real reason why I want to get a PhD, because I want to be like those guys. Those guys are my heroes.